So admittedly, it wasn't my idea. I'm the oldest of three brothers, and I started Super Coffee with my two younger brothers. We all played sports in college. Our youngest brother, Jordan, was playing basketball. He was a starting point guard, a full scholarship player his freshman year. And he was falling asleep in class. You know, he didn't want to drink the sugary Starbucks Frappuccino that had 40 grams of sugar and 300 calories. So he started brewing his own coffee really for himself, just because he was tired. You know, he was focused on basketball. He was locked in as a student athlete. He had no ambitions or aspirations to start a company. But this coffee that he brewed for himself that had the protein, the healthy fat, zero sugar, it worked so well for him that he started selling it to his teammates and his classmates and his coaches. And before long, he said, wow, this is a problem that goes well beyond me and my campus. I can't be a full-time student athlete and share this solution with the world. So he called me and our middle brother, Jake, and said, fellas, I'm dropping out of school to sell coffee. And that's how we got started. There he is behind me trying to play hoops.
Like, how many were being sold before you thought, let's start this as a company, you know? But what kind of volume are we talking about? You know, like in the beginning, just when you got the idea, like, hey, this could be a business.
Yeah. So at first he didn't want to make money from his friends, you know, but it was expensive to make with the protein and the coffee. He bought a couple blenders. So he was just charging people his costs. But that turned into like $500 a week, then $1,000 a week, which for a college student, that's a lot of money. So
it's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it must've been several hundred bottles per week. And then that's when he said, hey, let's see if we can get this into commerce.
So how do you produce several hundred bottles a week from a dorm room? Like, what's like the quick kind of setup for something like that? Because that sounds like a bit of a production line.
Literally exactly what you think. So it was blenders that you buy at any Target or grocery store. So we had blenders. He would brew the coffee. So he'd have a hot pot of coffee, dump it in. And then we ordered these bottles from China, and we'd fill them up and we'd cap them, and then we'd stick like a sticky label on them from FedEx or something like this. And that's what we were selling. So it was a lot of manual labor. And then once we got into our first store, we showed up to a Whole Foods market in Washington, D.C., right near Georgetown's campus. And we said, hey, we're Super Coffee, and you guys don't carry anything like this. And the store manager tried it. He said, hey, this is pretty good. Bring your fellow student athletes up to my store to shop, and I'll give your product a shot. So just like that, we get into one Whole Foods. And we didn't leave that store. We poured samples at that store every day until we became the best-selling bottled coffee. And that's when we realized we'd need some type of culinary kitchen, some larger facilities rather than just a blender in the dorm room.
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is going to be a very quick story for the listeners, right? Because you've done a lot of things since that point, right? So I'm going to try and move quickly through the story, but still tell the story, right? So
totally.
You went to Whole Foods, right? So why did you choose Whole Foods, and kind of how did you get them to say yes to you?
Yeah. So this was before Amazon owned Whole Foods. You know, this was towards the end of 2015. And every region, Whole Foods splits up the US into 11 different regions. It's a very, they sort of, each region has its own local program where they bring in like farmers market goods, local purveyors of different items. So we pitched into that local program. We got a hold of the right store manager, and he gave us a shot, and then you could go store by store. So we took the data from that first store that we went to, and we brought it to the store down the street and said, hey, we're the best selling bottle of coffee at your store up the street. Like, you guys should bring it in here. So that's what we did. We went store by store. We wouldn't leave an existing store until we were the best selling coffee. And then we'd move on to the next one. And by the end of that first year, we had a pretty good data story saying like, hey, in these 20 stores in the greater Washington, D.C. area, we're the best selling bottle of coffee. And now if you invest in Super Coffee with your capital, we can take that from DC to Baltimore to Philadelphia. And that's really what we did. We went city by city.